The slap stung like 1,000 wasps, sharp and hot across my cheek. The kind of pain that makes your eyes water before you even register the shock. Karen's manicured nails flashed under the noon sun, her face twisted into a snarl that could have curdled milk. "You little bitch," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "You don't tell me where I can go." Her sister, Tammy, stood a step behind, arms crossed, smirking like she was watching a reality show showdown. The air smelled of fresh-cut grass and the faint tang of Karen's overpowering floral perfume, choking the summer breeze. My heart pounded, not from fear but from a fire igniting in my gut. This wasn't just about them trespassing on my land. This was about every entitled demand, every sneered insult, every time they thought they could bulldoze over me because they were the Karen sisters, queens of this small-town hellhole. I'd bought this 5-acre plot 6 months ago, a quiet slice of heaven on the edge of Willow Creek, where the pines whispered secrets and the creek babbled like it had all the time in the world. It was my escape from the city, from cubicles and fluorescent lights, a place to rebuild after my divorce left me hollow. The old farmhouse needed work-peeling paint, creaky floors, but it was mine. So was the dirt road cutting through it, the one the locals had used as a shortcut for years. I didn't mind at first. A few pickup trucks, kids on bikes, no harm done. But then came the Karen sisters, Karen and Tammy, who treated my property like their personal playground, driving their shiny SUV through my meadow, flattening wildflowers, leaving tire tracks like scars. When I put up a private property sign, they laughed. When I asked them politely to stop, Karen called me a city snob and peeled out, spraying gravel in my face. Today was different. I'd had enough. The morning started quiet, just me and my coffee on the porch, the air heavy with the promise of a storm. Then I heard the rumble of their SUV, the engine growling like an angry dog. I stepped out, hands shaking but voice steady, and blocked the dirt road. "You're not crossing my land anymore," I said, planting my feet. Karen slammed the brakes, leaned out the window, and that's when her hand met my face. The slap echoed, a crack like a breaking branch, and for a second, the world went silent. Even the birds stopped singing. Tammy chuckled, low and mean, adjusting her oversized sunglasses. "You gonna cry now, sweetheart?" she taunted, popping her gum. My cheek burned, but I didn't flinch. I could feel the pulse in my temples, the heat rising like steam off wet pavement. I wiped a bead of sweat from my brow and stared Karen down. "Get off my property," I said, each word sharp as a blade. She laughed, a high-pitched cackle that made my skin crawl, and gunned the engine, inching the SUV closer like she'd run me over. That's when I noticed the gate behind Meth old iron one I'd been meaning to fix. It was rusted but sturdy, and the lock still worked. An idea sparked, bright and dangerous. I stepped aside, letting her think she'd won. "Go on, then," I said, gesturing toward the road. Karen smirked, her lips glossy and smug, and floored it. The SUV roared past, kicking up dust that stung my eyes. Tammy waved like a pageant queen as they sped toward the meadow. I didn't hesitate. I ran to the gate, my boots crunching gravel, and slammed it shut. The padlock clicked into place with a satisfying snap. The sound was music, a deep, metallic clang that promised trouble. I turned back, dusting my hands, and waited. The SUV stopped halfway across the meadow, engine idling. Karen's head popped out the window, her blonde hair a mess now, strands sticking to her sweaty forehead. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she screamed. I leaned against the gate, arms crossed, and smiled. "You're on my land, Karen, and now you're staying there until I say otherwise." Her eyes widened, a flicker of panic breaking through her bravado. Tammy leaned over, whispering something, and Karen's face turned redder than the clay dirt under her tires. That's when the unexpected happened. A beat-up pickup truck rattled up the road behind me. One I didn't recognize. The driver, an older man with a gray beard and a flannel shirt, stepped out, squinting at the scene. "Everything all right here, miss?" he asked, his voice gravelly but kind. I didn't know him, but his presence felt like a lifeline. His name was Earl, a retired farmer who'd lived in Willow Creek his whole life. He'd seen the Karen sisters' antics before everyone had. "They're trespassing," I said, nodding toward the SUV. Earl glanced at the gate, then at me, and a slow grin spread across his face. "Well, ain't that something?" he said, pulling out his phone. "Mind if I record this? Folks around here might want to see the show." Karen was out of the SUV now, stomping toward the gate, her heels sinking into the soft earth. "Open this gate right now, or I'll call the sheriff," she shrieked, waving her phone like a weapon. I shrugged, the calm in my voice surprising even me. "Go ahead. Tell him you assaulted me and trespassed on private property. I'm sure he'll love that story." Earl chuckled, his phone already recording, the tiny red light a silent witness. Karen froze, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Tammy climbed out, her confidence fading, and whispered something to Karen again. The air was thick now, heavy with the scent of rain and the electric buzz of a storm rolling in. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a low growl that matched the fire in my chest. I could have opened the gate. I could have let them go with a warning. But every time I blinked, I saw Karen's hand swinging, felt the sting on my cheek, heard Tammy's mocking laugh. "No, they didn't get to walk away from this. You think you own this town," I said, my voice low but steady, carrying over the rising wind. "You think you can push people around, take what you want, and nobody'll fight back. Not today." Karen's face crumpled, her bravado cracking like thin ice. "You can't do this," she wailed, her voice breaking. "I have a nail appointment at 3. The absurdity of it hit me, and I laughed a real, belly-deep laugh that felt like freedom. Earl joined in, his chuckle rough as sandpaper, and even the wind seemed to howl in agreement. Raindrops started to fall, fat and cold, splattering the dirt and turning Karen's white blouse translucent. She shrieked, covering her head like the rain was acid, and Tammy scrambled back to the SUV, cursing under her breath. Earl leaned closer, his voice quiet but firm. "You want me to call the sheriff, miss, or you want to handle this your way?" His eyes sparkled with mischief, and I knew he was on my side. I thought about it for a second, the rain soaking my hair, the cool drops of balm on my burning cheek. "Let's give 'em a minute to think," I said, loud enough for Karen to hear. "Maybe they'll learn something." The storm hit hard then, sheets of rain turning the meadow into a muddy mess. Karen pounded on the gate, her fists slipping on the wet iron, her screams drowned out by the roar of the downpour. Tammy was crying now, mascara streaking down her face, yelling about her ruined shoes. I stood there, soaked to the bone, and felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about a gate or a dirt road. It was about standing up, about drawing a line in the sand and saying, "No more." I'd spent too long letting people walk over Mimi X, my old boss, the Karen sisters of the world. Not anymore. Earl's phone pinged, and he grinned. "Posted it," he said, winking. "Whole town's gonna see this by supper." I nodded, my heart racing but steady, like a drumbeat. I unlocked the gate, the key cold in my hand, and swung it open. Karen stumbled through, slipping in the mud, her eyes wild with humiliation. Tammy followed, silent for once, her head bowed. "Don't come back," I said, my voice cutting through the rain. They didn't look back as they climbed into the SUV, tires spinning in the muck before they peeled away. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and Earl tipped his hat. "You did good, kid," he said, climbing into his truck. I stood alone, the air fresh with petrichor, the meadow glistening under a clearing sky. My cheek still stung, but it was a reminder. I wasn't invisible anymore. I'd fought for my place, my peace, and won. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang, tentative at first, then louder, like it knew the storm was over. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe.